Hey everyone, Walter Bowne. Today, I'm gonna plant some tomatoes. Why do I need a video to show you how to plant tomatoes? Because I used to think I planted tomatoes and I got crappy tomatoes. Now I know what to do. Let me show you. I used to grow really bad tomatoes. That's until I went to a lecture by Mike McGrath of You Bet Your Garden right here in New Jersey. And I had my handy dandy notebook out, took copious notes. And the one thing he suggests many things, but I'll share with you. Use of eggshells. So throughout the year, I collect eggshells. I don't put them in my worm compost. I just keep them separate, or I just throw them into the garden where I know I'll have my tomatoes, because tomatoes love calcium. They adore calcium. And I plant this as deep as I can with the root ball. So start with crushed eggshells, and whenever my girls or wife throw eggshells away in the trash, I'm digging them out. I'm like, yo, 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 you're depriving nature of what it needs. It goes not in the garbage, it goes in the garden. That's tip number one, use eggshells. And about 12 eggshells per tomato plant. So tip number two, right? I used to grow, as I said, really bad tomatoes. It's because most of us would plant the tomato. Let's just say this is the soil level. I just plant it just like right at the soil level, maybe a little below, maybe a little above, right? And that's bad. It will just create a leggy plant. So what Mike McGrath suggested, and I've been doing and growing great tomatoes, is burying the thing deep like this. It seems like crazy, and then turning it. So you plant it deep, turn it. What I'll do is stake it a little bit with a garden stake and keep it upright. And then of course my eggshells deep with some really good soil, and I'll talk about that in a second. And that will make a lot of roots and a lot of stalks, and therefore lots of tomatoes. All right guys, here's tip number three. I have a Rutgers Ramapo hybrid. I usually buy my tomatoes up at the Rutgers Field Day. It used to be Ag Day, now it's Rutgers Day, but with COVID, there's no plant sales, there's no plant exchanges, there's no plant swaps. I've been pretty miserable, but you manage, right? You manage. But what I used to do, as I was told by people, is you snip the little runners, you clip it, you say, oh, here's one, oh, let me clip that, oh. No. That's not going to generate flowers. What you're doing is depriving the plant of solar panels. You're getting rid of the solar panels, and the more solar panels you have on your house, the more energy you're going to generate for the plant. So the plant's going to grow, it's going to create flowers, fruit, like here my yellow plum. I like having a little color with the tomatoes. They're great for salads, and it's like, ooh, yellow tomatoes, ooh, excellent, right? But don't deprive it of solar panels. Just leave it be. Most gardeners, like I used to be, would just mess around with the plant too much. Too much pruning, too much this, too much that. Just let nature take over, right? Stop with the snipping and all that stuff. All right, guys, here's tip number four. Tip number four. I used to, when I was a really bad tomato grower, use these little cages. All right, you see these all over the place. Get a tomato cage. This is great, maybe if you have a like a patio tomato, but I would put like a brandy wine in one of these things thinking, oh, this will be fine. Yeah, it's not gonna be fine. It's gonna be growing all over the place. This thing's gonna be like getting all bent and crazy, and it's not gonna contain anything. What you need to do, if you want to be serious, you want these things to grow 12, 15, 16 feet high, and they do. I mean, they really can take over depending on the season and the weather and what kind of soil you have. Is this something like this? All right, I'm gonna drive this in with a mallet to about 2 feet into the ground to make sure it's solid, and then I used to use twine, and there's different types of twine and strength of twine, but sometimes the twine would just break, or the birds, the finches would come and take my twine for their nest, right? Which, I love my birds, so I don't get too upset, but I get upset that they don't have support in my tomatoes. So I wrap it around with some like heavy gauge fencing, like wire, and I'll show you at the end. Is it attractive? Does it keep the tomatoes together? Yeah, you just have to make sure there's room for you to pluck the tomatoes without having to deal with too much. So that's another big tip, is determine whether your tomato is a determinate. So I might put something like a cherry tomato in one of my grow bags here. And this is tip maybe number 5, is using grow bags. I use grow bags for tomatoes. I mean, I have sweet potatoes, 5 different types of tomatoes in my grow bags. What I love about the grow bags is that you can control the moisture, you can move them around, the critters, and there's, these things are great. This is about a 10 gallon bag. I have 15 gallon bags there, and I fill with compost from the garden. And because filling 15 pounds of really good garden soil, that takes a while, and it takes a lot of soil. But if you manage with lots of different material, you can ease the financial burden of the types of soils you get from the garden center. And the more you do things like worm composting and just general composting, nature will give you what it needs, so you don't have to spend so much money like on crap like Miracle-Gro. And I don't use that stuff, right? So that was like what, 4 or 5 tips there. All right, so all right, guys, here's tip number 6. All right, I'm running. This might be my last tip, and then I'm getting impatient. I need to plant these things. Don't overwater these things. They want water in the morning. When you water the base of the plant, right? Water the base, because these are indigenous, I think that's the word, from South America in the Andes Mountains, where they would grow at the base of the mountain. So they would get the cool water coming from the snows from the Andes, watering the roots, but it's hot. And so that's why the tomatoes like it hot, right? And they grow as a vine, right? And so it still has the genetic code embedded, even though this is so far removed from the original tomato plant. But water in the morning. Try not to water the leaves. Now, if it rains, it rains. There's nothing you can do about that. But try to keep it from watering too much the leaves, because it will get yellow and it would not be so good, right? So make sure you water, don't overwater, but of course tomato plants need water, right? But try to water in the morning. Now, if you forget and you want to do it in the evening, I'm not sure that's such a problem. You just might want to wait till the next day and just water your plants in the morning, and water at the base. Just don't like spray them, okay? So that's my 5th or 6th tip, right? And again, these are all things I got from that great guy, Mike McGrath, who I think he doesn't do You Bet Your Garden anymore, but I think he still does a lot of stuff. And I took these notes, and it was amazing. And I've really got some really, really good tomatoes. I like doing a variety of different tomatoes, whether it's early girls. I use a yellow tomato. I like plum tomatoes. I have Italian plum tomatoes and Roma tomatoes. So tomatoes that come out in different times, different seasons. I mean, if you plant them around Mother's Day, this is a little late this year. The weather's been a little cool, and again, like I said, they won't do anything in the ground until it's about 70 degrees. They'll exist, they just won't be happy. It's like basil. Some things you just need inside, or just don't buy them until the weather's ready. I have greenhouses over there that I keep things at a high temperature until they're ready to go, and I think they're ready to go. So let's get started. All right, guys, I forgot. I have one more tip. Tomatoes like compost. They like compost. This is my own leaf compost. These are the leaves from the fall, and I don't put them to the curb. They don't go to the trash. I put them into my inside compost with the worms and my outside compost, and then I either use it as like a loose mulch like this, or sometimes if the worms do what they need to do, it looks like soil. I mean, it is, so it's worm casings. So compost it, and And if you can, there's like lobster compost that's a little expensive, but they don't need much, right? So a good bag of lobster compost or mushroom compost. You know what? Don't use mushroom compost. I made that mistake once. Axe that. Mushroom compost kind of takes the nitrogen. No, that's another separate lecture. Scratch that. But lobster compost, a good leaf compost will keep. And again, a good compost like this, I can have my beans growing there. It keeps the soil moist. It keeps the plant protected, and it's like a little blanket for your. It keeps the ground warm. It keeps the moisture in, and it's all natural. This will break down, so the crap you buy, like from Lowe's or Home Depot, that's like the black mulch. Don't put that on your tomato plants. Don't put that really on any plants that you want to grow well. It might look nice, and if you just want your front of your home to look nice, but the problem is there's some spotting on your. That's a whole other lecture about don't use those wood composts. But if you can use a natural compost, that's fantastic. Okay. You can also buy like worm casings from Whole Foods for like $10 for like 12 ounces. Yeah, that's a lot, but it works. I mean, it's like superfood for your plants. I would do is just get your outside composter, buy some worms, 250 worms from like just go online. There's a couple places I buy worms from, and just throw them in there, and just nature takes over. Okay, let's plant some tomatoes. Okay, so I've dug my hole, and this has leaf compost that I get at the local Cherry Hill Township. Has really good soil, lots of nice worms in there. I'm gonna add some of my own compost. You can see some of this. This is dirt, but this is just worm casings. This is bananas, and there's like, I don't know what the heck that is. I think that's a bulb. I'll keep that for later. So I'm mulching it, and this is all leaves and food, and might as well go help my plants. Going back right into the garden. All right, so I have that nice. I'm gonna add some soil there. I'm gonna add my calcium. I have what I think will be my tallest plant back here, and I have some sugar snap peas and things growing, which that should be over by the time this thing is getting ready to roll. Okay, so I'm gonna plant it deep, turn it like I said, or like I was advised to by Mike McGrath. I don't want to take credit for this. I'm just spreading the love, like I'm spreading the soil. Get some of these nasty other roots out of here. And I'm burying this thing. It's like, oh God, you're killing it. See, one of my buddies, a little worm there. Keep him in the garden. The robins might get him, but that's just the way nature is. Life feeds on life. Get over it. It's like the snake or the dragon or the snake that eats its own tail, right? There's no sense being sad about it. It's just the way nature is. I'll be food for worms too. You will be too. All right, then I use some less. I use a mulch, like another type of mulch, but it's more of a leaf mulch that hasn't decomposed as much. And that. And right now I don't need to stake that so much. Let's see what happens. So what I've done is I put these stakes in. Now, I think I gave myself enough room. You think this is too much space, but if you crowd it, it's just going to, it's going to defeat the purpose. So you want to give it some room. And once these are in, they stay in. It's going to be really difficult to move it. What I do in the meantime is have some bamboo stakes that I'll place around. So when it does start growing, of course it won't grow all the way out here until a while, but you get these little clips that I think work pretty well. They work for me very well. I get these on Amazon. They're really cheap. You stalk, and then you would just clip it in like that to keep the plant room to grow, and it won't hurt it. Sometimes you use twine or some other things that I think eat too much into the stem of the plant, and it harms it. When they're little, you can use these little clamps and do it like that. Sometimes they have a tendency to break, but I've only lost a few of these. I have many of these things, right? So you use these, make sure you don't damage the root ball, and then you can take these out and then to train them onto the trellis and make it go all the way up to the sun, right? So let me get the other plants going. Hey, it's amazing. I was just here. I got more of these stakes from the garage. There's already a robin here plucking the worms. That's just what they do. All right, now it's time to water I'm using water for my rain barrel. Nothing's wasted. It's been kind of dry, so this is getting low. So definitely could use some rain. Although it's nice to have the nice weather. We just need to get it heated. Get the heat going. Shade garden over here loves it. Doesn't care about the heat. Likes the cool weather. This is boring. And because it's running low, it's not as fast. You gotta put the rain barrel up, of course, for gravity. I learned that a few years ago. All right, now it's just time to water the garden. I have a sweet cherry. I'll eventually stake this down. This one, I have a temporary cage, but I'll get more of them. Give these a nice little water. I probably have to go get more. And that's the one thing that's great about gardening. You can mess up on a plant. It's sad, but you get another plant, or you just learn for next year. Kids are different. You can't, you mess up with a kid. So gardening is great. Learn from your mistakes. You make so many mistakes as a gardener. And hopefully this has helped you eat healthy. And this is, I guess, mostly organic. I can't help what's in the neighbor's yard coming into my yard, but I can control what I can. And here's to good eating, staying healthy, and take care. If you have any tips, if you see I did something stupid or something wrong, let me know, because I don't have my Master Gardener certificate yet. It seems their classes are only when I'm teaching. Now that it's remote teaching, I guess I can sneak out and do I don't even think they're doing that now. So hopefully things will improve, but I know a lot of people are gardening out there now, and you might be a beginner. You have no idea what you're doing. Well, I have 25 years of mistakes, and hopefully I know what I'm doing now. But you know what, I always mess up too. Peppers, it's the worst. This is the year I'm trying to do peppers better. I don't think, we'll see. I might do a pepper video to show you just how bad I am at peppers. Take care. Okay, I turned my back for like 1 minute, and there's the robins. Let me say, yeah, thank you for this delicious feast of your compost. There he is, just plucking away. I'm like a cat. Sometimes I can just like sit and watch birds for hours. At least minutes. My ADD. It's minutes, not hours. Alright. Have a good feast there.